Hello, welcome to this presentation. My name is Marcelo Eler and I'll present the paper Analyzing Accessibility Reviews Associated with Visual Disabilities or Eye Conditions. I speak on behalf of two of my PhD students from the University of São Paulo and on behalf of colleagues from the São Paulo State University and from the University of North Texas in the United States. I'll only touch the highlights of the paper in this presentation, so please read the full paper for more details. In modern software development, products are continuously delivered in short periods of time. In this process, user feedback, planned or spontaneous, are used to plan for new releases. In the context of mobile software development, many companies check what users say about their apps by looking at user reviews published on app stores. That way, they can fix bugs, add new features, and keep users satisfied by addressing their requests. This is a review published on the Google Play Store. The user writes a feedback and gives a score, stars. The organization can reply. One of the questions that emerges in this context is that if software products tend to become more mature and stable over time, why most apps are not accessible according to many investigations? So, some researchers set out to answer the question of whether and how accessibility is addressed by users on their feedback published on app stores. The first in-depth investigation on the subject was conducted by our research group over more than 200,000 reviews. We found out that only about 1% of the reviews were related to accessibility. We also found out that most reviews were associated with user preference rather than real barriers. Following studies analyzed smaller datasets of user reviews or used our dataset to train machine learning models to automatically identify accessibility reviews. Given that most studies in this field were conducted with small datasets and focused on general accessibility concerns instead of actual barriers, we believe that a more specific investigation was required. Even though accessibility may affect any user, poorly designed interfaces impose barriers mostly to people with disabilities. In our study, we analyzed accessibility reviews that report issues affecting users with visual disabilities or eye conditions because they are more likely to contain real barriers instead of users' preferences. In addition, we used a much larger dataset, 180 million reviews extracted from 340 very popular apps. More specifically, we set up some goals to show that users are concerned in associating their reviews to some disability, to give an overview of the main barriers mentioned in accessibility reviews, as well as the interface resources and components involved, to understand how the scores of accessibility reviews are distributed, to provide a large dataset to allow further investigation in this research topic. We framed our investigation around some research questions. How many accessibility reviews are associated with visual disabilities or eye conditions? What are the disabilities or eye conditions associated with the accessibility reviews? What are the main topics addressed by the accessibility reviews? What are the interface components and resources mentioned in the accessibility reviews? What are the scores of accessibility reviews? Here are the steps we followed to answer our research questions. In the first step, we collected all user reviews from the Google Play Store. In step 2, we employed string matching filtering based on specific keywords to narrow down our dataset to reviews that mention visual disabilities or eye conditions. In step 3, we manually inspected the results of the string matching process to exclude reviews that were not of interest. Finally, in step 4, we labeled our dataset. Answering research question 1, we found out that only nearly 5,000 reviews were associated with visual disabilities or eye conditions. Most of them are negative feedback. The scarcity of accessibility reviews may be a consequence of our scope choice for this investigation. There may be many accessibility reviews reporting issues that affect users with disabilities, but no disability is mentioned. Identifying such reviews is out of the scope of this paper. This table shows the top 10 most reviewed apps of our sample. Notice that most reviews are negative in all apps, except for the YouVersion Bible app. The fact that most accessibility reviews are negative is not surprising, since people are more inclined to give negative than positive feedback. Considering research question 2, we found out that users mentioned 36 types of disabilities or eye conditions. Visual impairment is by far the most commonly mentioned disability, followed by blindness and eye strain. This table shows the most popular disabilities or eye conditions mentioned by users. It appears that many users are concerned with linking their feedback with some visual disability or eye condition to make it clear they are facing real barriers, thus further motivating developers to fix the reported issues. While some users mention specific disabilities such as myopia, many of them employ generic terms such as visual impairment. Here are some examples of accessibility reviews associated with visual disabilities or eye conditions. I am colorblind and I can no longer see the pastel color icons. I hate it. Anytime you play a video, it automatically changes brightness to 100% and you can't change it. Having lattice degeneration, I keep my brightness below 25% to prevent me from going blind. I have issues seeing the skip ad button. I'm partially blind and it's hard to see the skip ad button and or I don't know where it is. Please make it bigger. This is discrimination against people who have disabilities. Concerning research question 3, we employed topic modeling to provide an overview of the underlying subjects associated with accessibility reviews. Accessibility reviews are grouped by similarity. For example, there are several reviews in which users mention features related to the font size. Or, another example, many users complain that they cannot distinguish colors in navigation maps, such as in Google Maps or Waze. It is important to mention that such topics are the result of an automated process. Diving into the specific issues mentioned by users requires other approaches, such as content analysis. Regarding research question 4, this table shows the most cited interface components or resources. Text and font are the most frequently mentioned resources, followed by color, background, and button. This is an interesting result as it indicates which components might need more attention when one wants to develop an accessible app. Here's a heat map that shows the amount of reviews associated with a disability and a component or resource. Understanding such connections can provide some insight into which guidelines might be more relevant depending on the context. For instance, accessibility reviews associated with blindness frequently mention buttons, text, and labels, while the majority of reviews associated with eye strain mention color and background. People with low vision or with weak eyes mostly mention font and text. When it comes to scores, negative feedback tend to be associated with low scores, and positive feedback tend to be associated with highest scores. The same pattern was not observed in previous studies, where the scores of both negative and positive reviews followed almost the same distribution. Moving toward the end of this presentation, here are some concluding remarks. Accessibility reviews are a great source of information for who wants to gather feedback from users. Users need to be more precise, otherwise their feedback might not be useful. Many users only say that, for example, the app is not accessible, but no detail is provided. Unfortunately, accessibility reviews are scarce, as users do not leverage feedback mechanisms for some reason. The scarce number of accessibility reviews may not be enough to drive the accessibility evolution of mobile apps, even when results show that happy users are prone to give high scores and unhappy users tend to give low scores to the evaluated app. Here are some future work we intend to do. Conduct content analysis to extract valuable information from our dataset. Use machine learning algorithms to find similar reviews that do not mention disabilities. Further explore topic modeling considering different dimensions of analysis. Devise an interactive guideline based on accessibility reviews. Understand users' perceptions regarding accessibility evolution. Thank you for your attention, and again, I recommend you to read the full paper. Bye.